Today we're going to talk about all the earnings next week. We got 11 of them next week. It's going to be a big week. I'm just going to get right into it. On Monday, we have Alphabet, which is Google reports. I think it could be a pretty good quarter for them. It's one of these things. A lot of these stocks has ran up a lot. So essentially, when they ran up a lot, they the higher the stock goes up, the more expectations or the higher the expectations, so that's how it really kind of works with the stock price. A lot of people they get shocked. It might be a great quarter, and everybody's like, why is it not up 10%? Well, because it's ran up 10%, probably following up to the earnings, and they probably already knew that it was going to be a good quarter. So essentially, I think Alphabet, but I always look at the cloud. Because that's the only thing that kind of worries me. Really about a lot of these companies is the cloud. It's growing, but how fast is it growing? Because you always kind of look at the high growth stuff. Because I think the ads they could do good always. Well, not way. Well, they could keep doing good. I mean, obviously, advertisers spend more money on advertisements, so I think Google will have a good one. Maybe we get some YouTube numbers out, but that's why I really look for Alphabet. You know, is their cloud base and all that. So essentially, but going on to the next company, on Tuesday we have 5 companies reporting, and the first is Twilio. Twilio is one of them companies. I recommended it. You can check down. It was 2 companies that can double, and that's the one of them I think could double. So essentially, that's why I really kind of focus on the cloud. It does cloud-based communications. So essentially, as so that's what I'm really looking at with that. It has a lot of growth. The company, I think, is still sitting at an all-time high. So essentially, it's one of these companies. It's priced in really for perfection. So if it has anything, these are the types of companies they can go up a lot, they can go down a lot too. So this is one of these companies. I think it's doing well. I think it could do well, continue to do well. I think it's one of these things. The more these companies, as more companies move to the cloud and all these applications and all this, they go use Twilio's technology. If you want to learn more about it, I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it, but basically that's my thoughts about Twilio. I could leave a link down in the description talking more about Twilio and actually getting in depth of it. But the next company is Shopify. Shopify is reporting. It's one of these other companies that kind of ran up a little bit. A lot of these companies, they ran up a lot. So essentially, they have to really kind of shine, or the stocks might sell off a little bit. But I think it can. Shopify is one of them other companies I think long term on it. I don't really think about the quarter per se, but I think it could probably be a positive quarter for them. They're expecting a 50% growth on the top line this year. So if it goes any higher than that, I believe it can push the stock higher. The next company is MasterCard. This is the other one I recommended. I just did a report on it on Cashless Society. Obviously, it's doing, and I always look at kind of the competition, what they're saying. Visa reported an okay one, but the stock still went up on it. I think MasterCard has a little more growth in it, obviously, because it's more worldwide. But it can. So essentially, I think that could push the stock up. The next one is Zendex, or Zandex. It's also another cloud computing. As you can tell, I pick a lot of cloud companies. It helps with basically customer service on the cloud. So essentially, I think if you go to Amazon and you have to talk to customer service, this is one of the companies. I don't know 100% if Amazon uses this, but as you can see, that could be, as you get more online, these companies could probably move their customer service to the cloud, and that's one company that's helping them out with that. So, I can see a lot of growth there. I did another thing about it. I could leave that down the link. I did a lot of reports on a lot of these companies. Per se, if you want to learn more about, I could bring all the links down in there to show you. And Apple is reports on the same day, so we got all 4 or 5 of these are reporting on the same day. Apple is one of these companies. I still have confidence in it. But add the all the companies, I kind of watch Apple the most. Well, maybe not the most, but it kind of goes show you because it has a lot of exposure to China and what goes on with China. So I believe we got some intel reported, and they said it's some weakness in China, and it brought all the semiconductors down. So essentially, and I think Apple almost more than 50% of its revenue comes from China. So if you have weak China, it's going to bring the stock down. And it's kind of it's transitioning to a more of a service-based company. So that's why I'm kind of watching it. That's my opinion on Apple. I think, but the stock has ran up a lot since it reported. And maybe it might, do a little bit. It depends on China. So that's one of these stocks I'm really watching that one. The next day is on the 1st. We have one company reporting. That's Square. Square, obviously it's a payment. I did a cashless society. That was one of the picks too. One of the stocks I talked about there. I'll definitely leave a link down there again. I think it's one of these stocks that hasn't really went anywhere in the last couple, like almost the 3 months. It's been sitting around 70. So I believe if it has a good quarter, it could actually push the stock up, maybe, because it hasn't moved any yet. So when you see a stock that hasn't really moved anywhere, that kind of shows you like investors really don't know about it. They're not selling it off. There's no bad news that came out. It's just kind of this. It's just kind of they're waiting to see what happens. So essentially, I think that's what's going on with Square. So obviously, if they have good news, I think the stock could pop up a little bit. Just because it hasn't went anywhere in the last 3 months and everything's went up, and if it reports a good quarter and does well, I think the stock can go up a little bit. Moving on to the next company. Next company reports on the next day, on Thursday, the 2nd. It's Skyworks Solutions. Skyworks Solutions is one of these companies. It's a chip maker, of course, so it heavily on the news with Apple. So essentially, I believe if Apple reports kind of a rough quarter or maybe a rough outlook, more like it, I believe Skyworks Solutions will probably get hit a little bit. So it's just how it is. It's a semiconductor that make chips for Apple. So if they get hit, I believe. If Apple get hit on Tuesday, I believe it could bring down Skyworks Solution. And sometimes it's pretty harsh. The last time it did, it was about 10% hit. So, that's one of the things I'm looking at because you can see Intel, but the Skyworks Solution is one of these 5G plays. It makes, all these devices, not just Apple, but Apple's obviously one of the big ones. And next, moving on is Arista Networks. Arista Networks is that stock has ran up a little bit too. But the stock, it was flat for almost about a year. Then it just reported a decent earnings and it's very profitable. And then the stock got bumped up pretty high. So essentially, I think Arista Network, it's obviously cloud and all that's going on there. So that's one of these. I believe it go have another strong. If all the clouds do well, I think it's gonna do well too. Next is GoDaddy on the exact same day. I think GoDaddy, it's one of these. I like the company because it does the domain names. So essentially, like in Shopify, everybody's kind of going online. And the way to look at domain names, it's basically your website name, like www. whatever. That's really what GoDaddy does. That's what their core business does. They do some actually cloud servicing now too. So obviously you see all these companies moving in the cloud because they see all the growth and all these So essentially, if you have weak really cloud, it go hurt a lot of these companies. But whenever that happens, but really what it does. So obviously you can see with Shopify, if you make a Shopify store, the first thing they go actually give you a link to go to GoDaddy to get your own domain name. So essentially, that's what, as you can see, GoDaddy has a lot of application, because if you think everything's going online, you obviously need a website name for that. So that's where GoDaddy helps, and and it's one of these companies. I think it's like the only one that I know that does it. So it's obviously the dot player in it, and so, but they also do some other things too. They're not just that. So I always like to see what's going on there. And the last one that reports is Activision Blizzard. It's video game stock, makes video games. I believe it's been flat. It came down pretty hard, then it just kind of sat there right at around 47. And honestly, I think that's a good buy-in right now for the stock, because really a lot of the video game stocks has gotten beaten down. So I believe Activision, it could pop on any really okay news, because they reported like it's going to be a flat year for them and it's not going to be a good year. But if it shows any signs of maybe not as bad as they thought, like a lot of these companies, I believe it could push the stock up a little bit on that. So that's one of the other stocks I always kind of look at, the ones that just got beat down a little bit, but there's really, you always have to. I always like to call them when the report's almost like a damage report, because it's just checking in on the damage there. But that's why I'm really looking out. It's a big week. I could keep more updated. Leave a comment or anything if you want to know more in depth about it. I probably already made a video on some of them. And thank you for watching, and thank you.